Greetings, fellow patriots and critics of the official narrative. This is the Propaganda Critic, and today is May 22nd, 2017. I am your host, Daniel Begley. So on today's episode, we're going to talk about two separate cases in which the United States government, through its various secretive agencies, violated not only the U.S. Constitution, but even the stated policies of those agencies in order to undermine press freedom and to stifle dissent. One of the cases involves Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, who of course is still holed up in the Ecuadorian embassy in London. And the other case pertains to Barrett Brown, who's an investigative journalist and was associated with the hacking collective Anonymous and was imprisoned for 5 years for effectively doing journalism. Both Assange and Brown were in the news recently. On the 19th of May 2017, Sweden's Director of Public Prosecution, Marianne Nye, announced that she was discontinuing Sweden's investigation into rape allegations against Assange, which were quite clearly politically motivated. In fact, it was the Swedish government, not the alleged victims, that chose to press charges in the first place, and there's evidence to indicate that the women allegedly involved didn't even want to pursue charges. So Barrett Brown, he was in the news recently because he was released from prison in November of 2016. And he's actually been fighting every step of the way to stay out of jail, and the government's been trying to catch him in something. For example, actually there's a recent charge. It was a class action lawsuit by the donors to Barrett Brown's defense fund in 2013. So they donated to his defense fund in 2013, and the U.S. government decided to subpoena the anonymous donor information to that organization. And that's the basis for the class action lawsuit, which is currently underway. There is a pending motion to dismiss by the government, and the court date for that is set for August. And so looking back at how the timelines of these two events have progressed, there seems to be some notable timeline similarities. They seem to parallel each other. Now, while they're obviously linked, perhaps the paralleling timelines might indicate something a little deeper, such as some multinational coordinated effort by the powers that shouldn't be to crack down on independent journalism. I'm not going to speculate further on that, but I do find it interesting how the timelines parallel, and if any of you have any thoughts or comments on the matter, go ahead and leave them in the comments section. So on 29 November, this is kind of showing the timeline and how it progressed and how they're similar. On 29 November, that's when Barrett Brown was released from prison, having served 5 years, for essentially copying and pasting a link from the open internet to a chat room. And the very next day, on 30th of November, is when the United Nations Working Group on Human Rights denied the UK's final request to drop the case, or to review the opinion, which the opinion was that by being held up in the embassy as Assange is currently, his human rights are being violated and he's being arbitrarily detained. So not only did they announce that that was the case, but after rejecting the UK's final request for review, they said that he must be immediately freed and compensated. So you got Barrett Brown being freed from prison, and you got the UN calling for Assange to be freed. So in April of 2017, Brown was rearrested while on parole because he didn't fill out a bunch of paperwork getting consent from the Bureau of Prisons in order to interview a journalist. So just to talk to a journalist, he was rearrested because he didn't fill out a bunch of paperwork and hop through hoops. When he asked the Bureau of Prisons where in the rule book it said he had to do that, they refused to show him the evidence. And it turns out he didn't have to do that. They just found a way to arrest him. And in that same month, intelligence and law enforcement officials in the United States went on the offensive against Assange. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, in April, said that arresting Assange was a priority. And that CNN said, for what it's worth, CNN claimed that the U.S. was, quote, preparing charges, unquote, against Assange. Since, just like Brown, his only real crime was committing acts of journalism, the U.S. will most likely have to get him on some charge of conspiracy. Additionally, on 13 April, the CIA director Mike Pompeo accused WikiLeaks of being a non-state hostile intelligence service. Oh, this is a quote. Quote, non-state hostile intelligence service, unquote. That released information from Russian hacks against the DNC and, quote, actively collaborated, unquote, with Russia television, which Pompeo said was the official or primary Russian propaganda tool. Now, this active collaboration is most likely referencing the WikiLeaks interview series called The World Today with Julian Assange, which they advertised the broadcasting rights to various networks throughout the world. It just so happens that RT was the first customer of. And what's funny is it turns out a co-producer of the series was from the UK, Dartmouth Films. And that's an independent UK film company. Now, I don't know whether to be disgusted, existentially depressed, or enraged by the lies and the propaganda coming out of the mainstream media and coming out of the establishment and the intelligence agencies. This is not right. Our government is controlled by people who are apparently above the law. There's this big net that seems to catch all the little fish and let all the other big fish go. And it has to stop. And I think it is, the efforts to stop this are underway, and they're getting stronger. The dinosaur media are a thing of the past. They are rapidly dying, and the only way for us to make any progress is to stand up, speak out, exercise our rights to free speech, and as the great James Evan Pilato would say, don't hate the media, become the media. And I think that's a really great quote. I'm sure he would approve of me using it, although I think he's quoting somebody else, but I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, the Trump-Russia conspiracy theory is just absurd. And actually, you can get more information on that by going to Stefan Molyneux's Free Domain Radio. It's episode 3642 by the same title, The Trump-Russia Conspiracy Theory. And also, both of these cases are going to have significant implications for the future of America and for the preservation of our civil liberties. So it is high time that we stood up for a free press. And this is it, guys. I mean, this is what America is all about. We cannot let it slip. How far are we going to let it slip into tyranny before we take action collectively to do something about it? I'm not proposing violence or insurgency or anything like that. I'm just saying we need to exercise our rights as Americans, consistent with the Constitution, and it's our responsibility. So I appreciate all of you coming and listening. It was a little rough, but I got through it. I think I'm gonna get better. This is my first podcast. If you like what you see and you want to contribute and help me out, feel free to comment in the section, in the comments section. I'm gonna leave a link to my PayPal if you like the quality of my work. I highly encourage you to please help me out, donate, spread the word, and also I would encourage you to go visit newsbud.com. I am a contributor to that website, and they're currently trying to get the site up and funded. So please go to that website, check them out. It's really great. It's completely people funded. They don't take money for advertisements or anything like that. So until next time, thanks a lot, and keep questioning the media.